Relax. Focus on you. Part 1. The beginning of inner peace. Hook. What if the greatest battle of your life isn't against your enemies, but against the voice inside your own mind? The voice that says you're not good enough. The voice that compares your life to everyone else's. The voice that steals your peace one thought at a time. Today, I want to tell you the story of a man who discovered that real power doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from controlling yourself. Stay until the end, because this story might change the way you see your own life forever. There once lived a young man named Adrian. He worked hard every day. He woke up before sunrise, traveled long distances, and spent hours trying to build a better future. But no matter how hard he worked, he wasn't happy. Whenever someone bought a new house, Adrian felt behind. Whenever a friend got promoted, he questioned his own worth. Whenever people criticized him, he couldn't sleep at night. His happiness depended on everyone else. If people praised him, he smiled. If people ignored him, he suffered. His emotions were controlled by things he could never fully control. One evening, after another exhausting day, Adrian wandered into an old park. There, beneath a giant oak tree, sat an elderly man reading quietly. The old man looked peaceful. Not the kind of peace that comes from having money. Not the kind that comes from success. It was a deeper peace. Curious, Adrian walked over. "Sir?" he asked. "How can you sit here so calmly while the world is full of problems?" The old man smiled. "My son," he replied, "the world has always been full of problems. The real question is, why do you carry them all?" Those words echoed in Adrian's mind. Why do you carry them all? The old man introduced himself as Marcus. Every evening, Adrian returned to the park. Instead of giving complicated lessons, Marcus told stories. One day he handed Adrian 2 stones. "Carry these with you tomorrow." Adrian laughed but agreed. By noon, his pockets felt heavy. His back ached. He couldn't wait to throw the stones away. That evening Marcus asked, "How did they feel?" "They were heavy." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. Negative thoughts work the same way. You carry anger. You carry jealousy. You carry fear. You carry regret. And then you wonder why life feels so heavy." Adrian remained silent. For the first time, he realized that most of his suffering wasn't happening around him. It was happening inside him. The next lesson was even stranger. Marcus gave Adrian a notebook. "For the next 7 days," he said, "write down every single thing that ruins your mood." At first Adrian thought it was pointless. But he obeyed. By the end of the week, his notebook was full. Someone ignored his message. A stranger insulted him. Traffic delayed him. Rain ruined his plans. A coworker received praise. His internet stopped working. Marcus looked at the notebook. Then he asked, "Which of these could you completely control?" Adrian stared at the pages. "Almost none." Marcus smiled gently. "And yet, you gave every one of them permission to control your emotions." Those words struck Adrian like lightning. Marcus drew 2 circles in the dirt. Inside the first circle he wrote, "You." Inside the second he wrote, "The world." You spend most of your life trying to fix the second circle. But wisdom begins when you master the first. Adrian looked at the circles for a long time. He realized he had wasted years trying to change people. Trying to change opinions. Trying to change the past. Trying to change things that would never obey him. Meanwhile, he had neglected the only thing truly under his control. His own character. His own choices. His own reactions. That night, Adrian walked home differently. The streets looked the same. The city sounded the same. Nothing around him had changed. But something inside him had. For the first time in years. He wasn't chasing approval. He wasn't replaying old arguments. He simply breathed. And walked forward. Because he had discovered the first secret of Stoicism. You don't find peace by controlling the world. You find peace by controlling yourself. End of part 1. In Part 2, Adrian faces a major betrayal that tests everything Marcus has taught him. Will he react with anger, or will he finally learn the true power of staying calm? Relax. Focus on you. Part 2, the test that changed everything. Character is not revealed when life is easy. It is revealed when life becomes difficult. A week passed after Adrian began learning from Marcus. Every evening, he returned to the old park with his notebook. Every day, he became a little calmer, a little wiser. The anger that once ruled him had begun to lose its grip. But life has a way of testing every lesson we claim to have learned. One Monday morning, Adrian arrived at work with excitement. For months he had been leading an important project. He had sacrificed weekends, worked late into the night, and missed family gatherings just to make it successful. Today was the day his manager would announce who would lead the company's newest division. Deep inside, Adrian believed he had earned it. The meeting began. Everyone sat quietly. His manager smiled. "I want to congratulate Daniel for his outstanding work. Starting today, he will become our new team leader." The room erupted in applause. Adrian froze. His heart pounded. His hands trembled beneath the table. Daniel. The same co-worker Adrian had trained. The same man he had helped countless times. The same man who had used many of Adrian's ideas. At that moment, jealousy whispered into Adrian's ear. "Life isn't fair. You should expose him. Make everyone know the truth." His anger grew stronger with every second. He wanted revenge. Without saying a word, Adrian left the office early and walked straight to the park. Marcus was already sitting beneath the old oak tree. The old man looked at Adrian's face and quietly said, "So, today life has come to examine your heart." Adrian could no longer hide his emotions. "I did everything right," he shouted. "I worked harder than everyone. I deserve that position. I helped Daniel become successful. And this is how life rewards me?" Marcus remained silent. After a long pause, he picked up a cup filled with muddy water. He stirred it with a stick. "What do you see?" "Mud." Marcus placed the cup on the ground. "Now wait." They sat there in silence. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. Slowly, the dirt settled to the bottom. The water became clear. Marcus smiled. The water became clear because it was left alone. So does the human mind. When you react immediately, your thoughts become muddy. But when you remain still, wisdom rises. Adrian looked into the clear water. For the first time that day, his breathing slowed. Marcus continued. "Tell me honestly. What hurts you more? Losing the promotion? Or believing your value depends on it?" Those words pierced Adrian's heart. He had spent years believing that titles defined him. That praise gave him value. That success determined whether he was enough. Marcus gently continued. "If someone can take away your peace, then they own part of your life." Silence filled the park. Adrian realized Daniel had not stolen his peace. He had handed it away himself. The following morning Adrian returned to work. Everyone expected an argument. Some even waited to see him confront Daniel. Instead, Adrian smiled. He congratulated Daniel sincerely. Daniel looked surprised. "I thought you'd be angry." Adrian simply replied, "I cannot control your promotion. But I can control the kind of man I become." Weeks passed. Adrian continued working with excellence. Not because he wanted applause, but because excellence had become part of his character. One evening Marcus asked, "What if nobody ever notices your effort?" Adrian smiled. "Then I will notice." "What if nobody thanks you?" "I'll still do what's right." "What if the world misunderstands you?" "I'll continue becoming the person I respect." Marcus laughed warmly. "Now you understand. The strongest person is not the loudest, not the richest, not the most famous. The strongest person is the one who refuses to let circumstances control their character." Months later, something unexpected happened. The company faced a major crisis. Projects failed. Deadlines were missed. Several managers panicked. Daniel struggled under pressure. People argued. Blame spread through every department. But Adrian remained calm. He focused on solutions instead of complaints. He encouraged his co-workers. He stayed late, not for recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. Slowly, people began following his example. His calmness became contagious. One afternoon, the company's director visited the office. He watched Adrian quietly helping others without seeking attention. After the meeting, the director called him aside. "I've been observing you. Leadership isn't about titles. It's about character. A position can be given overnight. Character takes years to build. I believe you're ready." Adrian smiled. Not because he finally received recognition, but because, for the first time in his life, he realized he no longer needed it. The promotion was simply a bonus. The real victory had already happened inside him. As he walked home that evening, the city looked exactly as it had months before. Cars still honked. People still rushed. Problems still existed. But Adrian carried something he had never possessed before: inner peace. He finally understood Marcus's greatest lesson. When you stop chasing the world's approval, you become free. When you focus on becoming better instead of looking better, your life begins to change. And that was only the beginning of his journey. End of Part 2. In Part 3, Adrian faces his greatest challenge yet: a painful betrayal by someone he deeply trusted. This time, the lesson will not be about success, but about forgiveness, resilience, and the true meaning of inner strength. Focus on you. Part 3. The betrayal that built a stronger mind. The deepest wounds are not caused by strangers. They are caused by the people we trust the most. Months passed, and Adrian's life became more peaceful. He no longer woke up worried about what others thought of him. He worked with discipline, treated people with kindness, and ended each day with gratitude instead of frustration. Marcus continued to teach him every evening beneath the old oak tree. One afternoon, Adrian received exciting news. He had saved enough money to start a small business on the side, a dream he had carried for years. He couldn't do it alone, so he invited his closest friend, Lucas, to become his business partner. Lucas smiled. "You can trust me," he said. "We'll build this together." Adrian believed him without hesitation. For months, they worked tirelessly. They met clients. They stayed up late creating plans. They celebrated every small success. The business began to grow faster than either of them had imagined. Adrian felt hopeful. He believed life was finally rewarding his patience. But one morning, everything changed. He arrived at the office and found it empty. The computers were gone. Important documents had disappeared. The business account had almost no money left. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Lucas. "I'm sorry. I took another opportunity. Don't try to find me." Adrian stood frozen. His closest friend had betrayed him. Years of trust had vanished in a single moment. His chest felt heavy. Questions raced through his mind. Why would he do this? How could I be so foolish? Will I ever recover? That evening, Adrian walked slowly to the park. Marcus was waiting. The old man looked into Adrian's eyes. "You have been betrayed." Adrian nodded. Tears filled his eyes. "I trusted him." Marcus remained silent. After several moments, he asked, "Tell me, which hurts more? The money you lost, or the trust you lost?" Adrian whispered. "The trust." Marcus nodded. "Money can be earned again. But trust teaches us wisdom." Adrian clenched his fists. "I want justice. I want him to suffer." Marcus picked up a glowing piece of charcoal from a nearby fire. He held it carefully with a pair of tongs. "If I asked you to throw this burning coal at Lucas, what would happen first?" "I would burn my own hand." Marcus smiled. "Exactly. Hatred is like holding burning coal. You believe it hurts someone else. But first, it burns you." Adrian stared at the glowing coal. For the first time, he realized his anger was becoming another prison. Marcus continued. You have two paths. The first path is revenge. You will think about him every day. You will replay the betrayal every night. You will allow one man's actions to steal years of your future. The second path is freedom. You learn. You rebuild. You forgive, not because he deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Those words echoed in Adrian's heart. Forgiveness didn't mean pretending nothing happened. It meant refusing to let the pain control the rest of his life. The next morning, Adrian returned to the empty office. Instead of crying over what was gone, he made a list. What remained? His knowledge, his experience, his discipline, his character. No one had stolen those. Day after day, Adrian rebuilt. He started with almost nothing. Some days he earned very little. Some days clients rejected him. Some nights he questioned whether he should quit. Whenever discouragement appeared, Marcus reminded him. A tree grows stronger after surviving the storm. If your roots are deep, the wind cannot destroy you. Months passed. Slowly, customers returned. People noticed Adrian's honesty. Unlike before, he wasn't trying to become rich overnight. He focused on serving others well. His reputation grew. One evening, as Adrian closed his office, he saw a familiar face standing across the street. It was Lucas. He looked tired. Older. His confidence had disappeared. He walked slowly toward Adrian. I made a terrible mistake, Lucas said quietly. The people I trusted betrayed me. I lost everything. I don't expect your forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry. Adrian looked at him silently. Months earlier, he would have exploded with anger. Now, his heart was different. Marcus's lessons echoed in his mind. Your character is your greatest victory. Adrian finally spoke. I won't pretend what happened didn't hurt. It did. But I refuse to let bitterness become part of who I am. I forgive you. Lucas lowered his head. Tears filled his eyes. For the first time, Adrian understood something remarkable. Forgiveness did not make him weak. It made him free. As Lucas walked away, Adrian felt lighter than he had in months. The weight he had carried was finally gone. That evening, Marcus smiled when Adrian told him what had happened. You have learned one of the hardest lessons in life. The strongest heart is not the one that never gets broken. It is the one that chooses love over bitterness after it has been broken. Adrian looked toward the setting sun. He realized that life would always bring disappointments. People would lie. Some would betray him. Others would misunderstand him. But none of those things had the power to define him. Only his response did. From that day forward, Adrian made a promise to himself. I will not allow another person's actions to determine the kind of man I become. And with that promise, he stepped into a future that no betrayal could ever destroy. Focus on you. End of Part 4. The storm that could not break him. Anyone can remain calm when life is easy. But true strength is revealed when everything begins to fall apart. Months passed after Adrian forgave Lucas. His business slowly recovered. His mind became stronger. His heart became lighter. Every evening, he still visited Marcus beneath the old oak tree. One evening, Marcus looked at Adrian and smiled. You have learned to overcome anger. You have learned to forgive. But life has one final lesson. Adrian looked confused. What lesson is that? Marcus stared toward the setting sun. Loss. Before Adrian could ask another question, Marcus quietly stood up and walked away. Those words stayed in Adrian's mind. He didn't understand them. Not yet. A few weeks later, Adrian received an unexpected phone call. His mother had become seriously ill. Without hesitation, he rushed to the hospital. The doctors worked tirelessly. Machines beeped around the room. The once cheerful woman who had encouraged him since childhood now lay silently in bed. Adrian held her hand. He whispered, Mom! I'm here. She smiled weakly. My son, I've watched you become a good man. Never lose your kindness. Those were the last words she spoke. A few moments later, she quietly closed her eyes forever. The room became silent. Adrian felt as though the world had stopped. The strongest man he knew, the woman who had always believed in him, was gone. For days, Adrian could not eat. He barely slept. Every room in the house reminded him of her. He found her favorite chair, her old books, the cup she used every morning. Each memory felt like another wave crashing into his heart. People visited to offer comfort. Some said, "Time heals everything." Others said, "Stay strong." But none of those words eased the pain. One evening, Adrian returned to the park. The bench beneath the oak tree felt emptier than ever. Marcus was waiting. He didn't speak immediately. Instead, the old man simply sat beside Adrian. Several minutes passed in complete silence. Finally, Adrian broke down. "I've lost the person I loved most. I don't know how to move forward." Marcus gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "My son, grief is not weakness. It is the price we pay for love." Adrian wiped away his tears. "It hurts too much." Marcus nodded. "Of course it does. If your heart feels heavy, it only proves your love was real." Marcus reached into his bag and removed a tiny acorn. He handed it to Adrian. "What do you see?" "A seed." Marcus smiled. "What does a seed become?" "A mighty oak tree." "And before it becomes a tree, what must happen?" Adrian thought carefully. "It must be buried." Marcus nodded. "Exactly. The seed must first disappear into darkness. It must break apart. Only then can new life begin." He looked directly into Adrian's eyes. "Sometimes life buries us. We think everything is over. But often, God is preparing us to grow stronger than we ever imagined." Adrian remained silent. For the first time since his mother's passing, hope quietly entered his heart. Weeks became months. The pain didn't disappear overnight. Some mornings Adrian still cried. Some evenings he still missed hearing his mother's voice. But he remembered Marcus's words. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" he began asking, "What can this pain teach me?" Slowly, he started helping others who were grieving. He visited lonely neighbors. He donated food to struggling families. He encouraged people who felt hopeless. Every act of kindness reminded him of his mother. Instead of allowing grief to destroy him, he allowed love to guide him. One rainy afternoon, Adrian visited his mother's grave. He placed fresh flowers beside the stone. For a long time, he stood silently. Then he smiled. "Thank you, Mom. You taught me kindness. You taught me courage. And because of you, I will spend the rest of my life helping others." As he turned to leave, the rain stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds. It felt as though life itself was reminding him. After every storm, the sun rises again. That evening, Marcus asked him one final question. "What is the greatest lesson you've learned?" Adrian looked toward the horizon. He answered slowly, "I cannot stop people from leaving. I cannot stop pain. I cannot stop death. But I can choose how I live. I can choose gratitude instead of bitterness. I can choose courage instead of fear. I can choose peace instead of anger." Marcus smiled proudly. "You are finally beginning to understand Stoicism. It is not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It is about refusing to let pain become the master of your life." Adrian closed his eyes and took a deep breath. The grief was still there. But now, so was strength. He understood something he had never known before. Peace is not the absence of suffering. Peace is the decision to remain steady even when life becomes difficult. And from that day forward, Adrian walked through life with a calm heart, knowing that every challenge could become a lesson, every setback could become growth, and every loss could deepen his compassion. End of Part 4. Relax, Focus on you. Part 5. The greatest victory is over yourself. The strongest person is not the one who conquers kingdoms. The strongest person is the one who conquers their own mind. Several years had passed since Adrian first met Marcus beneath the old oak tree. The frightened young man who had once lived for other people's approval had become someone completely different. His business flourished, not because he chased wealth, but because he served others with honesty and discipline. People trusted him. Young entrepreneurs sought his advice. Neighbors admired his calmness. But Adrian never forgot where his journey had begun. Every evening, no matter how busy he became, he returned to the old oak tree. One evening, he arrived with exciting news. "Marcus," he said with a smile, "our company has become one of the most respected businesses in the city." Marcus smiled warmly. "I am happy for you. But remember, success is another test." Adrian looked surprised. "I thought failure was the greatest test." Marcus slowly shook his head. "No. Failure tests your courage. Success tests your character." A few weeks later, Adrian received an invitation from one of the wealthiest businessmen in the country. The man admired Adrian's reputation. "I have a proposal," he said. "I will invest millions into your company. You'll become richer than you ever imagined." Adrian listened carefully. Then the businessman continued. "There is only one condition. You must lower the quality of your products. No one will notice. We'll make more profit. We'll become the biggest company in the nation." For a moment, Adrian was silent. The offer could change his life forever. He imagined a bigger house, luxury cars, fame, financial security for generations. The temptation was real. That evening, he visited Marcus. Without saying a word, Marcus poured tea into 2 small cups. After a few moments, he asked, "What troubles you?" Adrian explained everything. Marcus listened quietly. Then he asked a simple question. "If you gain the whole world, but lose your integrity, what have you really gained?" Adrian lowered his eyes. Marcus continued. "When you were young, you wanted success. Today, life is asking what kind of man success will make you." That night Adrian could not sleep. His mind raced with endless possibilities. One voice whispered, "Take the money. You deserve it." Another voice quietly replied, "Your peace cannot be purchased." Before sunrise, Adrian stood before a mirror. He remembered the frightened young man he once was. He remembered the betrayal, the mountain, the long nights of rebuilding, his mother's words, Marcus's wisdom. Everything had led him to this moment. Finally, he made his decision. The next morning, Adrian met the businessman. "Have you made your choice?" the man asked confidently. Adrian smiled. "Yes. I refuse your offer." The businessman frowned. "Do you realize how much money you're walking away from?" "I do. But I would rather sleep peacefully with an honest heart than lie awake surrounded by wealth I earned dishonestly." The businessman stared at him in disbelief. "You'll regret this," Adrian calmly replied. "No. The only regret I fear is becoming someone I no longer respect." He stood up, shook the man's hand, and quietly walked away. Months later, something unexpected happened. Customers learned about Adrian's decision. His honesty spread throughout the city. More people trusted his company than ever before. His business continued to grow, not through deception, but through integrity. One evening, Adrian hurried to the old oak tree to share the news with Marcus. But when he arrived, the bench was empty. Marcus wasn't there. The following evening, still empty. Several days passed. Finally, Adrian visited Marcus's small cottage. A neighbor greeted him sadly. "I'm sorry. Marcus passed away peacefully 3 days ago." Adrian stood speechless. It felt as though time had stopped. His teacher, his guide, his friend, was gone. The neighbor handed Adrian a small wooden box. "He asked me to give this to you." With trembling hands, Adrian opened it. Inside was the very first notebook Marcus had given him years ago. There was also a folded letter. Adrian unfolded it carefully. It read, "My dear Adrian, if you are reading this, my journey has ended. Do not be sad. Every life has its season. When we first met, you searched for happiness and praise, success, and other people. Today you know that peace comes from within. Never stop learning. Never stop serving. Never stop choosing kindness. One day, another lost soul will cross your path. Sit beneath this same oak tree. Listen before you speak. Guide them as I guided you. That is how wisdom lives forever. Remember. Relax. Focus on you. The world will always be noisy. Your mind does not have to be. Marcus." Tears filled Adrian's eyes. He folded the letter carefully and placed it inside his jacket. The next evening, he returned to the old oak tree. This time, he sat alone. As the sun began to set, a young man approached. He looked exhausted. His shoulders were heavy. His face carried worry. "Excuse me," the young man asked. "May I sit here?" Adrian smiled. "Of course." The young man sighed deeply. "I feel like my life is falling apart." Adrian looked toward the setting sun. For a moment, he remembered the day he had asked Marcus almost the same question. He smiled gently. Then he asked, "Tell me, why are you carrying the whole world on your shoulders?" The young man looked up in surprise. And so, a new story began. Final message. Life will never stop testing you. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. Dreams may take longer than expected. Some days will bring joy. Others will bring heartbreak. But through every season, remember this. You cannot always control what happens to you. You can always control how you respond. When you master your thoughts, you master your life. When you protect your peace, you protect your future. When you focus on becoming better instead of proving yourself to others, you discover a freedom that no one can take away. Relax. Focus on you. That is where true strength begins. The end. Relax. Focus on you. Part 6. The Legacy of the Oak Tree. Wisdom is not measured by how much you know. It is measured by how many lives you help change. A year had passed since Marcus left this world. Every evening, Adrian walked to the old oak tree. He always carried the small notebook Marcus had given him. Inside its pages were lessons that had transformed his life, lessons about discipline, patience, courage, forgiveness, and inner peace. One cool evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills, Adrian noticed the same young man he had met months earlier. His name was Ethan. When they first met, Ethan was filled with fear and anxiety. He blamed everyone for his failures. He believed happiness depended on money, praise, and success. But today, something was different. He smiled. His shoulders were no longer heavy. His eyes reflected hope. He sat beside Adrian. "You changed my life," Ethan said quietly. Adrian shook his head. "No. I only shared what was once shared with me. The decision to change was yours." Ethan smiled. "I want to help others the way you've helped me." Adrian looked toward the old oak tree. Marcus's words echoed in his heart. "One day, another lost soul will cross your path." He realized the cycle of wisdom had begun again. Weeks later, Ethan invited several friends to the park. Each one carried a different burden. One had lost his job. Another had gone through heartbreak. One struggled with anger. Another constantly compared himself to others. They all sat beneath the oak tree. Instead of giving long speeches, Adrian asked one simple question. "What is the one thing that steals your peace?" Silence filled the air. Finally, one young woman spoke. "I spend every day comparing myself to people on social media." Another man admitted. "I can't forgive someone who betrayed me." A third said. "I'm terrified of failing." Adrian listened carefully. Then he smiled. "Years ago, I carried those same burdens. I thought I needed the world to change before I could find peace. I was wrong. The first person I needed to change was myself. Over the following months, more people came to the park. Some came because they were lonely. Some because they had failed. Some because they had achieved success but still felt empty. Adrian never claimed to have all the answers. He simply listened. Then he shared the lessons Marcus had taught him. Slowly, the oak tree became a place of hope. People encouraged one another. They celebrated progress instead of perfection. They learned that setbacks were not the end of the journey but part of it. One afternoon, Ethan asked Adrian, "Do you think Marcus knew all this would happen?" Adrian smiled. "I think he planted seeds. And he trusted that one day they would grow into a forest." Years passed. The city changed. Buildings rose. Roads expanded. New businesses opened. But one thing never changed. Every evening, someone could still be found sitting beneath the old oak tree, learning how to live with wisdom instead of worry. Children grew into adults. Students became teachers. Workers became leaders. Parents taught their children the same timeless lessons. The message continued to spread. Not through advertisements. Not through fame. But through ordinary people choosing patience over anger, courage over fear, and peace over chaos. One evening, Ethan approached Adrian with tears in his eyes. "My son asked me today what success means. What should I tell him?" Adrian smiled gently. "Tell him this. Success is not having the biggest house. It is coming home with a peaceful heart. Success is not defeating other people. It is becoming better than the person you were yesterday. Success is not collecting wealth while losing yourself. It is keeping your integrity even when no one is watching." As the sun set behind the oak tree, Adrian looked at the people gathered around him. Some laughed. Some shared stories. Some simply sat in peaceful silence. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Marcus." At that moment, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves above them. Adrian smiled. He realized that Marcus's greatest gift had never been his words. It had been the example he lived. And now, that example lived on in every person who chose wisdom over anger, discipline over excuses, and peace over fear. Final reflection. If there is one lesson to remember, let it be this. Every day, life gives you two choices. You can complain or grow. You can hold on to anger or choose forgiveness. You can fear failure or learn from it. You can chase approval or build character. The world will always be filled with noise. But your greatest strength is learning to protect the quiet within your own mind. So, wherever you are today, remember. Relax. Focus on you. Because the greatest victory is not changing the world. The greatest victory is becoming the person you were created to be. Relax. End of Part 6. Focus on you. Part 7. The Master Within. There comes a day when the student realizes that the greatest teacher has been inside him all along. The years passed quietly. The old oak tree became known throughout the city as a place where troubled hearts found peace. People arrived carrying invisible burdens. Some had lost their jobs. Some had lost relationships. Others had lost hope. They all came searching for answers. And every evening, Adrian welcomed them with the same warm smile Marcus had once given him. He never claimed to be perfect. Instead, he would say, "I am still learning. Every day is another lesson." One evening, a young man named Noah approached the oak tree. He looked no older than 25. His clothes were neat, but his eyes were filled with exhaustion. He sat beside Adrian without saying a word. After several minutes, Noah finally spoke. "I have everything I thought I wanted. I have money. I have a good job. I have a nice apartment. But every night I feel empty. I wake up anxious. I compare myself to everyone. I am always afraid that someone else is doing better than me." Adrian nodded. He remembered feeling exactly the same years ago. Instead of answering immediately, he asked a question. "What happens if someone becomes richer than you?" Noah replied. "I feel like I'm falling behind." "And what happens if someone praises you?" I feel happy. And what happens if they criticize you? It ruins my entire day. Adrian smiled gently. Then your happiness doesn't belong to you. It belongs to other people. Noah sat in silence. Those words struck him deeply. The next morning, Adrian invited Noah to walk through the city. As they walked, they passed a busy marketplace. A merchant shouted at a customer. Nearby, two brothers argued over money. A child cried because he couldn't have a toy. A wealthy businessman stormed past, yelling into his phone. Noah looked around. Everyone seemed stressed. Adrian nodded. Because most people spend their lives chasing things they can never fully control. What do you mean? They chase approval. They chase status. They chase wealth. They chase perfection. But the more they chase, the farther peace runs away. Later that day, they reached a quiet lake. The water was perfectly still. The mountains reflected on its surface like a mirror. Adrian picked up a small stone and tossed it into the water. Ripples spread across the lake. What happened? Adrian asked. The water changed. Adrian nodded. And did the lake choose to become disturbed? No. The stone disturbed it. Adrian looked at Noah. Life will throw stones into your mind. Criticism. Failure. Loss. Disappointment. You cannot stop every stone. But you can decide how long the ripples remain. That evening, Noah admitted something he had never told anyone. When I was a child, my father always compared me to other children. No matter what I achieved, it was never enough. I've spent my whole life trying to prove my worth. Adrian listened quietly. Then he placed a hand on Noah's shoulder. My friend, you do not have to earn the right to respect yourself. Your value is not measured by applause. It is measured by your character. Tears filled Noah's eyes. For the first time in years, he stopped trying to become enough. He realized he already was. Over the following months, Noah changed. He stopped checking social media every hour. He stopped comparing his success to others. He began reading every morning. He exercised regularly. He spent more time with his family. He learned to enjoy silence. His friends noticed the difference. You seem happier, one of them said. Noah smiled. I stopped competing with everyone else. Now I only compete with the person I was yesterday. One autumn evening, Adrian sat beneath the oak tree alone. The wind gently carried golden leaves across the ground. He opened Marcus's old notebook. Inside the final page was a sentence he had somehow never noticed. It read, The day you no longer need a teacher is the day you become one for someone else. Adrian closed the notebook and smiled. He looked around. Ethan was helping a young couple work through their fears. Noah was encouraging a teenager who had lost confidence. Others were comforting strangers they had never met before. The wisdom Marcus had planted had become a living legacy. Adrian whispered softly, You were right, Marcus. One seed really can become a forest. As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, Adrian stood beneath the old oak tree. He looked up through its branches and took a deep breath. He realized the greatest treasure Marcus had ever given him wasn't advice. It was a new way of living. A life guided by discipline instead of excuses. Peace instead of panic. Gratitude instead of envy. Purpose instead of pride. And he knew that as long as people continued to choose those values, the story of the oak tree would never truly end. Because every person who learned to master their own mind would go on to help someone else do the same. And that was the greatest victory of all. End of part 7.